And guys, in this next news story, a couple's drone-based drug smuggling operation had been grounded after the pair were jailed for a combined 7 years. Sajad, Hashimi and his wife Zerka, Maranay made more than 100 drone drops into 11 jails and young offender institutions in just over a year, the vast majority at a single prison, which was only in Warwickshire. Footage from one smuggling operation, which was published by police, showed a drone hovering over a prison at night whilst lowering mobile phones on a fishing line. The drone pilot Hashimi, who's 27 years old, flew his DJI Phantom 4 into prisons on 78 dates between August 2022 and October last year, making drops as far as Dorset and as far as north as Edinburgh, while his wife hiring cars to help along the way. Maranay, who's 28, hired at least 20 cars at a cost of £17,000 and used a bank account to launder nearly £50,000 her husband had received for piloting the drones. But the couple from North London was snared last October after Northamptonshire detectives began investigating a spike in drone drops at HMP Onley and discovered that Met Police were already looking into Hashimi's activities. Officers searched the couple's home on August 3rd last year and found a drone along with cocaine and cannabis. Hashimi pleaded guilty to conspiracy to supply Class A and B drugs into prisons and conspiracy to convey List B prohibited articles into prison. Maranay admitted conspiracy to convey prohibited articles into prison and money laundering. Yesterday, Hashimi was jailed for a total of 6 years at Northampton Crown Court, while Maranay was sentenced to 15 months. Hashimi's crimes were discovered after he crashed his white DJI Phantom 4 drone in the grounds of HMP High Point in Suffolk on July the 4th, 2023. Fishing line and hooks had been attached to the drone with a package containing heroin, steroids, chargers, tobacco, SIM cards and mobile phones worth £19,500. Data from the crashed drone confirmed it had been responsible for 62 flights on 34 dates and 7 different prison sites between January the 3rd and June the 3rd last year. Despite crashing the drone, Hashimi acquired another one and continued flying packages into prisons undeterred. The court heard that on August the 17th last year, Kent Police attended HMP Maidstone following reports of a drone flying over the prison. A Nissan Qashqai, which had been hired by Maranay the previous day, was found by officers parked nearby. Officers stopped Hashimi in the area and discovered he had the vehicle's key, and search of the car recovered numerous drug passages, while the drone and controller were found hidden under a nearby van. Hashimi was arrested and later bailed for being concerned with the supply of Class A and B drugs. Data from the seized drone revealed that between June the 15th and August 17th, it made 38 flights across 34 dates at 7 different prisons. Multiple packages were recovered from inside the prison grounds, so the value of cannabis alone was estimated at around £75,000. Obviously, it's worth more in prison. Detective Inspector Carrie Powers of Northamptonshire Police's Serious Organised Crime Team said the investigation had been very complex and the largest of its kind ever tackled by the force. He added, tackling and preventing drug harm and serious organised crime are matters of priority for the force, and we will continue to act to disrupt drug supply associated with organised gangs. The Prison and Probation's Minister, Edward Argar, added, our beefed up anti-drone no-fly zone along with drug detection dogs and airport-style security are helping us lock up organised criminals and crack down on drugs behind bars. So the prisons that were targeted included Onley, the Mount, Mason, Highdown, Guys Marsh, Garth, Scrubs, High Point, Downview, Brixton and Edinburgh. And guys, in this next news story, a Sheffield couple have been jailed for a total of 9 years after more than £100,000 worth of Class A and B drugs were found at their home by police. On Thursday, February the 8th, officers executed a warrant at a property. Inside, they found almost 1 kilo of heroin worth an estimated street value of around £80,000 and 150 grams of cocaine. They also found around a kilo of cannabis. Drug paraphernalia, including weighing scales, snap bags and a heat seal, as well as mobile phones and more than £600 in cash, were also taken from the property, and as a result, Shakeen Christian, who's 28, and Sophie Massey, who's 29, were arrested. It's believed that the drugs had been cut with various synthetic opioids, which are actually stronger than heroin, even more dangerous when taken by users who believe they are taking heroin when Users don't know what it's mixed with and the drugs they are taking. There is a greater risk of overdose, the South Yorkshire Police explained. So Christian and Massey pleaded guilty to possession with intent to supply heroin, cocaine and cannabis. And Christian was sentenced to 6 years imprisonment and Massey was sentenced to 3 years. Detective Sergeant James Dyson said, I am extremely pleased with the outcome of our warrant, which turned up a significant amount of dangerous drugs and has led to the successful prosecution of these offenders. Hopefully these custodial sentences will cause both offenders to think twice before involving themselves with illegal drugs again. And in this next story, a man who murdered a father of two by repeatedly stamping on his head and chest during a tornado of criminal violence has had his sentence increased at the Courts of Appeal. Carl Ellis was originally jailed for life with a minimum term of 27 years for the murder of Roy Dealey Price, as well as 3 separate robberies, assault with intention to rob, and 4 counts of the word beginning with R of 2 women, all which happened during a 4-day rampage. Ellis saw Mr. Dealey Price, who was 48 years old, withdrawing £10 from a cash in Tettenhall Road in Wolverhampton just before 10 o'clock in the night on May the 28th last year and followed him before launching the deadly attack. Wolverhampton Crown Court previously heard Ellis return to Mr. Dealey's body 4 times in the space of 11 minutes to continue his assault, kicking and stamping on his head at least 12 times and at one point using both his feet. The 26-year-old was also handed a 10-year sentence for each count of the word beginning with R to run concurrently and 8 years to run concurrently for the robberies, as well as 3 years for assault with intention to rob. All of what was described by the sentencing judge as a tornado of criminal violence. Ellis' sentence was then referred to the Court of Appeal by the Attorney General's Office, and today the judges increased the minimum term of his life sentence to 35 years. Bill Emlyn Jones KC told the AGO, stated that the total sentence had been unduly lenient and had not been increased enough to factor in the word beginning with R and robberies. The barrister said that some of the stuff that he did was humiliating and degrading conduct, with particularly vulnerable victims being preyed upon. Ellis appeared via video link from Full Sutton Prison in Yorkshire, with members of Mr. Dealey Price's family also attending the hearing remotely. At the end of the hearing, Lord Justice Stuart Smith, sitting with Mrs. Justice Chima Grubb and Mr. Justice Chowdhury, agreed the original sentence had been unduly lenient. Lord Justice Stuart Smith said the murder of Roy Dealey Price had a dreadful impact on his mother, his 2 children and his sister, to whom life since his death has been a waking nightmare. The senior judge said Ellis had an extremely concerning history of violence, particularly towards women, and that the murder featured senseless and gratuitous violence. The aggregate sentence must reflect the totality of all the relevant offending. He ruled that if Ellis had to be sentenced just for the murder, he would have been given at least a minimum term of 29 years. However, he added the robberies represent serious criminality that must be reflected in the total sentence, and it was paramount to reflect the impact of the word beginning with R. Lord Justice Smith concluded the criminality is not, in our view, reflected in the sentence passed by the judge. The sentence increase comes after the trial judge previously amended Ellis' minimum term in March to 28.5 years due to an error in calculated credit for a guilty plea. So guys, here's a number of stories coming out from the streets of the UK.